The news today, following the story of the leak of the Ukraine-Russian secret talks, has decided the Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg has decided to leave his post as Donald Trump's Ukraine envoy in January. That's more than a routine personal change. It marks the unravelling of the last semi-credible channel Kyiv had inside the White House, which of course is increasingly shaped by transactional instincts, internal quarrels, and a worrying tolerance for Moscow's narrative rather than the truth and rather than what is correct. The timing could hardly be worse. His departure becomes public hours after the leak of the 28-point draft peace plan negotiated in secret between Washington and Moscow that could force Ukraine to surrender the entire Donbass, halve its military, and accept a bizarre cash-for-land rental scheme in which Russia pays for de facto control while Ukraine retains legal title. It's not diplomacy, it's an arm twist disguised as a settlement. Kellogg's value to Ukraine was not sentimental. He's 81, a retired general of considerable stature, and his sympathy for Kyiv served a strategic purpose. Trump appointed him precisely because he could keep Zelensky at the table, while Steve Witkoff, the president's lead negotiator, attempted to craft a blueprint more congenial to Putin. Kellogg became the quiet counterweight in a system tilting steadily towards concession. That is why his exit matters. Inside Ukraine, he was treated with unusual warmth. Zelensky greeted him with embraces in Washington and Kyiv alike, which was not theatrical, but a sign of relief in an administration that often repeated Moscow's talking points about the origins of the war. Kellogg was one of the few who spoke plainly about the real obstacle to peace, Russia's refusal to negotiate seriously, while its forces continued to press for further gains. His frustrations make sense. First, he saw too many hands meddling in Ukrainian policy. Second, he believed the administration persistently misdiagnosed the problem, suggesting that Kyiv was the barrier to peace rather than the Kremlin. Third, internal power struggles froze him out of key meetings. He didn't attend the Alaska summit in August, nor was he present at Trump's October meeting with Zelensky. For a man tasked with ending the war within 100 days, he was curiously absent from the rooms where decisions were actually being made. There's also the question of legitimacy. As a special envoy, he needed Senate confirmation after 360 days. With January approaching, the administration showed no sign of pursuing confirmation, perhaps because it preferred a negotiator more aligned with its increasingly lopsided approach. His deputy, John Cole, has already departed to become envoy for Belarus. The machinery is thinning out. The deeper concern lies in the context of the leaked plan itself. It confirms what many in Kyiv suspected. The United States and Russia have been drafting Ukraine's future without Ukraine in the room, a plan that halves Ukraine's armed forces and hands Russia large, huge territorial and strategic gains. That's not a peace agreement, it's an ultimatum dressed up in diplomatic phrasing. The rental proposal for Donbass is especially cynical, reducing a brutal occupation to something resembling a commercial lease. Kellogg's exit leaves Kyiv with a shrinking circle of advocates. In Washington, it also exposes the contradiction inside Trump's policy. Publicly, he promises rapid peace. Privately, his negotiators design proposals that reward aggression. Kellogg was the one senior figure who consistently reminded colleagues that Russia, not Ukraine, is the party blocking a just settlement. Removing that voice is not a neutral administrative shuffle, it's a shift in strategy. And meanwhile, the United States still has no Senate-confirmed ambassador in Kyiv. The embassy is led by a capable diplomat, Julie Davis, but the absence of a confirmed head of mission underscores a wider hesitancy. Staffing gaps, competing envoys, the secret drafts with Moscow hardly build confidence that Washington is prioritizing Ukrainian sovereignty. In Kyiv, this feels like abandonment. In Europe, it is interpreted as a warning that Washington's commitments are fragile, and in Moscow, it will be read as confirmation that time is working in Russia's favor. Kellogg's departure is therefore more than a retirement, it's a sign that the internal balance in Trump's Ukraine policy has tipped. What remains is a landscape dominated by negotiators like Witkoff, whose proposals tilt sharply towards Russian demands, and a president impatient for a deal he can announce, regardless of its cost to Ukraine's security or Europe's stability. The larger question is stark. If Kellogg was the restraining influence, who now speaks for Ukraine inside the Oval Office? Who corrects the misperception that Kyiv is the obstacle? Who warns that a half-strength Ukraine with amputated borders is not a peace but a prelude to renewed conflict? Without such voices, the next phase of this war will be shaped by expediency rather than principle, and that is precisely why Kellogg's departure lands with such force.